Today, let's take a look at the top 10 best-selling Super Nintendo games of all time, shown in rare sealed video games.
Mad Dogger.
Like many of us that grew up in the 1980s and 90s, the Super Nintendo was the video game system of our generation. For those born in the 1980s and 90s, there is nothing more nostalgic than holding a factory-sealed video game. Just holding one of these things in your hand is like a time warp, bringing you back to that day as a kid when you were holding the very same video game on the way home from the store. Just waiting to tear into that package and play that game that you read so much about in your Nintendo Power magazine that you subscribed to. Nintendo culture was massive in the 1990s. Naturally, you want to collect the games that you remember playing as a kid, and there is no better place to look than the list of top 10 selling Super Nintendo games of all time to find those very games that you best remember. I personally owned games 1 through 9 on that list as a kid and fondly remember playing every single one of those games, as does all my friends at the time. So let's jump right into it with game number 1, Super Mario World. Selling over 20 million copies, this is the best-selling Super Nintendo game of all time. It was the launch title and also a system pack-in. Odds are that when someone thinks of the Super Nintendo, they start by thinking about this game, and what an epic game it was. According to the IGN list of best games of all time, this is right up there at the top of the list.
Introducing the next generation from Nintendo, New Super Mario World, created especially for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a bit more exciting, a bit more challenging, a bit more graphic, a bit more colorful, a bit more realistic, a bit more levels, a bit more secret, a bit more enemies, a bit more friends, a bit more sound, a bit hotter, a bit cooler, a bit weird, a bit more revolutionary, a bit more Mario, a bit more of what you want. It's 16-bit, and it's yours only if you get New Super Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
This game is so rare to find sealed because as a pack-in, almost everybody got this game included with their system, and when it came as a pack-in, it didn't come in this box. So the question is, who went out and bought Super Mario World when they already had a copy included with their pack-in system? And the answer is very few people. So this game is extremely rare to find sealed. In fact, from this list, this might be one of the rarest games on the list. This game is a gem. Game number 2, Super Mario All-Stars. This was an epic game as well. I definitely remember having this particular game. In fact, I still have my childhood copy, which has my name written on it in marker, which is pretty cool on a personal note. But anyways, this here is the highest graded copy in the entire world. It's a 9.8 A++ copy of Super Mario All-Stars. And I must say that this also is a very rare game, and it also took me years to find. It's come up a little bit more in recent times, but this is a very rare game. Super Mario All-Stars was pretty epic because it contained Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 that were from the NES, and it kind of updated the graphics to look a little bit more in line with Super Mario World. And yeah, whether or not I played it a lot is another story, but it's definitely a must-have. Game number 3, Donkey Kong Country. Now, the hype for Donkey Kong Country started when I got this VHS tape in the mail from Nintendo Power. The graphics on this game were out of this world at the time of release. It was literally mind-blowing to us kids that got this VHS in the mail. And this was one of the most anticipated releases of all Super Nintendo, and I'm convinced that it was the biggest marketing campaign for any game on the entire system, and it went on to sell over 9 million copies. Number 4, selling over 8.7 million copies, Super Mario Kart. This game is possibly the most played game in terms of hours on the entire system.
Let's go racing! It's Super Mario Kart Funny Car Madness! Only on Super NES! Turn the track into a giant mud pit! Or burn rubber on ice, wood, or asphalt! Mix it up with the big boys! See Bowser in his Bigfoot-dropping truck! See Yoshi's go-kart really go! Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells! Dynamite! Check your rear view and make him eat dust! Or go into battle mode and ruin his day! 2 speeds! Fast and way too fast! It's 2-player fun on the split screen! Only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System! Now you're playing with power, superpower!
This game is credited for being the first game to bring the Mario franchise out of the platforming genre, which is a major innovation. This is also the first game in the Mario Kart franchise which has many releases extending even through to today, some 30 years later. This game is really rare, definitely one of the rarest games on this list. It took me many years to find my first copy of this game. I would go as far to estimate that there are under 25 graded copies in the world. Number 5, selling over 6.3 million copies, Super Street Fighter 2. Now this game is probably the most iconic fighting franchise and game of all time. We remember playing this like crazy, especially fighting against your friends, and everybody remembers mashing those damn buttons if you're Blanca or Chun-Li, the yep. We all remember being so frustrated when your friends were doing that. Of course, you never did it. And this game was so iconic, it spawned a line of action figures. They partnered with G.I. Joe. It spawned cartoons and animation and movies. This franchise was a big deal. Now shown here is the highest graded known copy. It's a 9.8 A++. It's a near perfect copy. And this is probably the most common title on this list because there were a number of case packs found at once upon a time. I bought my first copy in 2012 on eBay for like around $100. Maybe it was $125, and they were all case packed, fresh mint. That being said, there might be under 100 copies known, so it's still not common in the realm of modern comic books or anything like that. Number 6, selling over 5.1 million copies, Donkey Kong Country 2. Now this was a highly anticipated sequel for the SNES. It was such a big deal, and this was of course the first appearance of Dixie Kong.
Diddy and his new friend Dixie Kong attempt to rescue the kidnapped Donkey Kong from the evil King K. Rool. Amazing new levels challenge the duo as Dixie uses her powerful ponytail in incredible ways. Advanced ACM technology delivers the stellar graphics of this 32-meg game as you play 1 or 2 players simultaneously.
This is probably the second most common title on this list, and you know, it is one of the most common Super Nintendo titles, but it still is relatively rare. I would say that there's probably under 100 sealed copies available, and this is still very much a title worth pursuing. Number 7, selling over 4.6 million copies and easily the best game on this list, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This is by far the best game for the entire Super Nintendo system, and in my opinion, this is the greatest video game of all time.
Introducing the epic challenge that only the Super Nintendo Entertainment System could make possible. Across endless land and water, you search. Deep into a parallel world where light becomes dark, you search. And just when you think your search has ended, you find it's just begun. The new Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
This game was so innovative. It had an amazing open world map. It had great dungeons. It had a ton of gameplay. And honestly, I don't remember anything more exciting in terms of video games than seeing my babysitter get the gold sword and blowing off the top of that pyramid to find the final boss, Ganon. This game is out of this world. And to find a sealed copy is very, very rare for this particular game. I estimate that there are around 20 to 30 sealed copies of this important game, and I feel it's always been vastly undervalued in the market. Even the most recent sale of a 9.8 at Golden Auctions for $180,000, I feel that is an exceptional deal for such an important game that is this rare. Coming in at number 8, having sold over 4.1 million copies, is Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Now, this game was another big sequel release for the Super Nintendo. It was highly anticipated. It got a lot of play in Nintendo Power magazine. Plus, it had this really weird marketing campaign.
When is too much too much? To find out, we crammed everything into Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. 60 more levels, massive enemies, huge Yoshi tricks, all served up with the latest graphic technology, Morphmation.
No more.
Sure you don't have room for another little bonus level? Super Mario World 2, only on the Super NES. Still the big one.
This game has just proven to be exceptionally rare for some reason, and they just almost never come up. I would estimate that WATA has probably graded under 20 copies of this game. So being that it is Super Mario World 2 and just being that rare, this is a gem. Coming in at number 9 and having sold 4.1 million copies and being the third sequel on this list is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Now, this was also a major release, and so many people went out and bought this game. And I'm a little unclear what the big difference is between Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and Street Fighter 2. But nonetheless, this game was awesome. Everybody picked E Honda, and he deservedly got the cover of this great game. The box art is out of this world for this game, and again, just one of the best fight games of all time. Totally hype, and everybody that played Super Nintendo loved playing this game. And finally, coming in at number 10, having sold 4 million copies, Star Fox. Now, this was a major release, there's no question. It had the special FX engine, which was extremely innovative for the Super Nintendo at the time. Now, this is the one game on this list that I never had. I wasn't a huge fan of it. My cousin had it. I played it. But nonetheless, this is the one game on this list I didn't have, but it's nonetheless a huge release. It got a nice Nintendo Power cover and a huge marketing campaign behind it. It had a VHS tape sent out, and the hype was real for this particular game. Star Fox is another one of these Super Nintendo titles that are surprisingly hard to find. They just really don't come up often at all, and it being one of the major marketed pieces for the Super Nintendo, it's probably one of the top 5 biggest releases for Super Nintendo in terms of marketing budget and just how much hype was surrounded it. It's definitely a must-have for any major Super Nintendo collection. And there you have it, the top 10 best-selling Super Nintendo games of all time. I mean, you got to stop somewhere, right? We could keep going, We got, number 11 here, Donkey Kong Country 3. We got game number 12 on the best-selling list, Final Fantasy 3, which is a great game. It's pretty rare, too. We got game number 13, Killer Instinct. We could keep going, but again, time is limited. You got stuff to do. I got stuff to do, so I better get out of here. But just to wrap it up, sealed video games are totally hype. They are the future of tangible collectibles, never mind this NFT stuff. If you want to collect your childhood in a singular genre or field of collectible, it is graded video games. We absolutely love them and connect to them. They're rare. They have everything going for them. Look at how amazing they look on a shelf. Sealed video games are where it's at. I highly encourage people, If you're going to collect something, I highly encourage looking into this. These are just so cool, and that's about all I have to say about that. So keep on collecting, guys. Thank you for checking out the video, and I hope you guys have a great day.